We now learn about the null factor law. Now, the null factor law states the following. Given two quantities A and B such that A times B equals to 0, then one of the following three statements must be true. Either A equals to 0, or B equals to 0, or both A and B equal to 0. And the reason for this is because when we multiply two numbers, the only way that the product can be equal to 0 is if at least one of the two numbers equals to 0. And as simple as this law is, it in fact turns into a very powerful tool. And a quick example of that is seen when solving quadratic equations by factorization, which would look something like this. Let's say we had to solve 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 equals to 0. Well, when factorizing quadratic equations, we can show that this equation can be written as 2x plus 3 times x plus 1 equals to 0. Now, if you're unsure of how to write a quadratic equation in its factored form, you'll find a link to the tutorial on how to do this in this video's description below. But back to this equation. Now that we've written the quadratic equation in factored form, we can think of this 2x plus 3 in parentheses times x plus 1 in parentheses as A times B. In other words, we have the same scenario as what we just saw, which was A times B equals to 0. And consequently, we can use the null factor law and state that either 2x plus 3 must equal to 0 or x plus 1 must equal to 0. And solving these two simple equations will lead us to this quadratic equation's two solutions. The first equation leads to 2x equals to negative 3, and in turn that leads us to x equals to negative 3 over 2. And the second equation tells us that x must equal to negative 1. And these two values of x are the solutions to this quadratic equation. And that's how the null factor law can be used for solving quadratic equations which have been written in their factored form. We'll be seeing, though, that the null factor law goes way beyond quadratic equations. In fact, it can be used as soon as any expression has been factorized. For now, though, that's the whole idea behind the null factor law, and that's it for this tutorial. There we go, everyone. I really hope that helped, and if it did, please hit like on this video and even subscribe to our channel, because that really does help us. I'll see you soon.